That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet.
When you could not prove anyone right or wrong, all the expertise was contained in the people involved in the conversation.
We hope you enjoy our conversations, and as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, "That don't sound right," send us a comment. You're one of us.
I was going to build it out of a spent or a new underground fuel tank. You know those fuel tanks that sit underground.
That's
Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Billman.
I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're just trying to have a conversation without Googling or fact-checking things online. Those things can so easily kill the conversation.
They can kill the conversation. Have you killed one this week?
I don't think I have, but I'm not sure if I had too many conversations. I felt like I've just been doing everything on email these days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You didn't have any good conversations flying over to India?
No. You know, there's that whole protocol on an airplane. So when you sit down, I usually sit on the window seat. Mm-hmm. So I'm the first one in the seat. Right. And then someone will sit next to me. And you have to read the crowd, Cecil.
Right.
Do you read the crowd?
Absolutely.
How do you read the crowd?
Usually I'll throw out a, "Hey, how are you doing? My name's Cecil." And then they get that look in their eye like, "Oh, man, I'm stuck next to that guy." And then I realize I probably need to sit there quietly for the rest of the flight.
Well, there's another way you can do this, is you just give it a little time. And if they throw the ear pods in or they put the headphones on, you know they're not interested.
Right. Or they put the hoodie up. If they have the earphones and the hoodie top, then you know you're absolutely...
Then they're not interested in any kind of chat. Although I usually, when we land, if they take their earbuds out, I'll ask them, "Hey, is this you're coming home, or are you keeping on going?" And then we see where we go.
Right.
And it's amazing how chatty someone is after the intercontinental flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, some people, they will not talk to you at the very beginning. Earphones in, they're gone. We land, and it's like all these words have been building up inside. And then all of a sudden they want to talk. I'm like, well, we could have done this the whole trip.
We could have had all kinds of conversations.
However, sometimes I'm that guy who puts the earphones in as soon as I sit down, because on a trip, I usually am now needing to sleep on that first flight.
Right, because you're using a new app to help you, which we're going to talk about on a future episode.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about in the future episode. That beats jet lag, hands down.
Speaking of traveling, that's our topic tonight. You probably remember in the 70s, you could buy kits where you could build an airplane. Mainly they were ultralights, so it was nothing more than a hang glider with a frame and a Briggs & Stratton lawnmower engine. Do you remember these?
I vaguely remember. I feel like I saw them in the back of Popular Mechanic.
Oh yeah,
is that where you?
Absolutely.
Is this where you're going with this?
They had them in Popular Mechanic.
Well, there goes half the audience.
Yeah. All
right, so actually more like 3/4 of the audience, because the first 50% aren't interested in flying in a homemade anything. The other 25% don't even know what Popular Mechanics are, and they don't really care.
Would you fly an ultralight?
Oh,
that
yes.
you built?
I would love to.
Because you go up, 100 feet, maybe? Couple hundred feet?
Yes, I would love to. Oh, that'd be so much. I would love to go to work that way.
And usually, worst case scenario is if you lose power from the gas-powered Briggs & Stratton on the back of that thing, you could glide down.
Just glide down.
Hopefully.
Well, it'd be a quick glide.
It'd be a quick glide.
You better have some place to glide onto.
More like a controlled fall.
Well, you don't need that much space either.
No.
I mean, I bet you we could do this in your... Well, probably you got a lot of trees. Like my backyard, I could probably land in my backyard.
You think so?
I think I could land it in my backyard.
That's pretty confident in your landing skills. Of course, you are confident in your landing skills, as we have heard.
Yeah, well, I can land a plane. I can land an ultralight without any power.
So I used to think about that. That would be a cool thing to build. And you could build more complicated airplanes too from kits.
So my dad and I, we went to see my uncle.
An ultralight?
No. We didn't fly down there. We went down to see him, and he had a buddy who wanted to show us his airplane. And it was a World War I biplane.
He built it?
And he built it.
Wow.
He built it from a kit, just like you said.
Yeah.
It has the wooden and steel, skeleton, and then you wrap fabric around it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were amazed.
Did you fly in it?
I didn't fly in it. No. Was it a 1-seater or a 2-seater? I felt like it was only a 1-seater because I wasn't offered the chance. We were talking about it, and I asked, we were so impressed. And then he kind of turns the conversation like, "What do you guys like to do? What do you like to do?" And I was describing what I was doing with the Scout this was when I was in college.
Okay.
I was welding the Scout back together.
You're still doing the same thing.
I'm doing it once again. But I was welding the Scout. And you know what he said? He said, "Oh, if you can do this, you can build a plane."
Of course you can.
I said, "That don't sound right." No, he said this.
No, I know.
He said, if you can put together, a vehicle without instructions,
yeah,
just piecing it back together and welding it back together, you can build an airplane.
I feel very confident you can build an airplane.
I was so amazed that he said that.
Would you fly an airplane that you built?
Oh yeah. But why else would I build an airplane?
I think I'd fly in one I built too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Here we go. Would you fly in an airplane that I built?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
I'm not going to ask the reciprocal.
No, I would fly. No. You're very meticulous. I would fly in your plane.
So the newest thing I've seen is you can build yourself a quadcopter, like a big drone,
like an oversized drone that you sit in.
You can fly it.
I think I've seen. I've seen prototypes that you kind of sit on it like a motorcycle.
Yeah. Yep. And then I've seen one that you can actually recline in now. You sit in it like a reclined bicycle.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Would you fly in one of those?
I would almost be more confident flying in one of the ultralights than I would on one of those drone things.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Why? I can tell you why.
Why's that?
If the engine goes out, you glide down.
Well,
if an engine goes out in a copter, it dumps you over.
Yeah.
Flips you over and you're going down.
Right. If one of them goes out, you're kind of...
There's no gliding. You're dropping.
Would you build a helicopter?
Ooh.
That was more complicated.
Yeah, that is really, really complicated. I mean, from a kit helicopter.
I wonder if they make kit helicopters.
I don't know, because I think the learning curve, and we had an episode on learning curves. I think the learning curve is much, much steeper to fly a helicopter. It's easier to fly an airplane than it is a helicopter.
Yeah.
And so if I were a helicopter pilot and I've been flying for years, then yeah, I would do it.
But you'd know the controls.
I would know the ins and outs and why the thing works. I don't really know how a helicopter works. Do you know how a helicopter works?
I think it was either you or my friend Chris that said helicopters just beat the air into
submission. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you don't know how a helicopter works. Yeah.
It's like a two-stroke engine to me. I don't know how either one of those things work.
Right. So I think that's the deal. Is if I knew how, I have a vague understanding on how an airplane works and all the controls.
Yeah.
I don't have a vague understanding on how a helicopter works. So
I don't even know how it creates lift, really.
So if I knew, like I said, if I was a helicopter pilot, then I'd be up for it.
All right. Well, here's the one that I saw this week. So the airplane I can get on board with.
Yeah.
No pun intended. I saw a guy this week that made his own submarine, his own submersible.
Submersible.
Yeah.
Where is this guy?
So this guy lives up in New York. Now, he is a boat builder.
Okay.
So he has a company that builds pontoon boats.
All right. So he's in the business.
He knows
how boats work.
He knows how boats work.
He knows how flotation.
And he has the resources and the equipment to build this.
Yeah.
So he wasn't like building it in his garage. He was building it. I'm assuming it in his
boat yard, yeah.
But as I watched his interview, first of all, we have to say this was a legitimate pursuit. He wasn't building this to smuggle drugs past the Coast Guard. I mean, you see those on the news now.
Which is, yeah. I mean, that's been going on for a while now.
And the interesting thing about those, I think, is I don't think they truly go all the way under. They're like really low profile.
I think you're right. They're basically, I mean, they're submerged, but you have basically a conning tower that sits above, and I think they even have a snorkel. But those things, I think they have a snorkel, and those things even have diesel engines.
Yes.
So they need oxygen. So they have a snorkel for breathing air and for the engine and exhaust. So it's more like, it's like it's under the surface of the water,
right? But
it doesn't go all the way under,
right? It does not submerge.
It doesn't, yeah, right.
This guy has
this one goes down,
and watching him, there's a ton of controls that are on this thing. So he had to create systems to tell whether he's level underwater,
Mm-hmm.
to make it go down and come up, because this will go down 60 feet, which I know when you say that out loud doesn't sound like, but that's a long way down.
Yeah. That's 6 stories.
Yeah, 6 stories down in the water. And this is a freshwater submarine.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't take it out in the ocean. But he's got like ways to, like, he's got the trim
Mm-hmm.
pieces on it. And what I mean by trim, there's the controllers on the outside. He's got ballast tanks.
Dive planes.
Dive planes.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the ability to keep it pressurized, keep fresh air. It has oxygen tanks, and he has a CO2.
So he can scrub the air.
Yeah. I mean, it's
legit.
cruise submarine.
Yeah.
And he like researched it, built it. So now my new question for you is, would you go down in a homemade submarine like that?
Well, a true confession.
Mm.
I forgot when I saw the news articles about these drug subs.
Mm.
But when I heard about that, it was probably even before that. I felt like I was doodling my own submarine in college.
To build it.
Yeah. I was going to build it out of a spent or a new underground fuel tank. You know, those fuel tanks that sit underground.
That's interesting because
that's what I was. So I had a design. That was the outer hull. And then I had another one that was the inner hull. And that's where you live. I had a 2-story one.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was 2-story. It was 2 floors.
I
don't know why I had 2 floors. I mean, what do I need 2 floors for? But I mean,
party.
Why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I used to daydream about building my own submarine.
In engineering school.
Yeah, so the answer to your question is absolutely. I've already done it in my mind so many times.
Still have the plans.
I'm ready to go. Oh, I doubt it. No, I don't. No. But I can recreate them.
We know a guy.
They were just in my. I can recreate them quite easily if you'd like to see me do it.
The guy who built the submarine actually was inspired by a guy who did that. He built it out of a used propane tank.
A propane tank. Okay, all right.
A really big propane tank.
I mean, how big of a propane tank? I guess. Well, this is not a 2-story job like mine.
Right.
All right.
Well, like the ones for the house are almost look like a submarine to begin with.
The big ones. Yeah,
the big ones, and they almost have a con tower on the top.
Yeah, that's right.
Fly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that would be cool. So you're already way ahead of me on that.
I've dreamt about this. I mean, I had a galley and a sleeping quarters.
Oh yeah.
How long could this guy go under for?
His current model can stay submerged for 24 hours.
Okay, all right.
But now he's been super safety conscious.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with this. So 24 hours is as long as he can stay under, but he usually only stays under for a few hours. And he's got it where you can flood it if necessary and swim out of it. Because you'd only have to swim, he only goes down 60 feet. Mm-hmm. So you'd only have to make it 60 feet back to the surface.
Okay. So he probably, when he's submerged, he's in relatively shallow water, 70, 80 foot deep waters.
Right.
So if he had a problem and it sank down to 80 feet.
Oh, yeah, if it sank. Yeah.
If it sank, I mean, that's what he's have to do, right?
Right. Yeah. You could swim.
Because, I mean, if he's cruising around at 60, it's got to be at least 70 feet deep.
Yeah. And then he's got it where you can hook up scuba tanks to the ballast tanks and blow the tanks if needed.
From the
or fill them with tank.
Outside scuba guys could go down there and rescue him.
Go rescue him.
And fill, try to get it to...
Yeah, he's very safety conscious about it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of redundant systems.
He's got a lot of redundant systems built into it. And it's all electric, so he doesn't have to deal with any exhaust like a diesel engine.
Yeah, in my plans, I always had the issue of how do you get the propeller through the pressure hull and not cause a leak.
Oh,
I don't know how you do that.
I've seen the seals. I know they use like big seals. Like I've seen it on ships.
Mm-hmm.
Like I almost think they're like, this is where we're really going to start.
Here we go. 2 people, no less than one person.
All right. I think they're almost like inflatable around those shafts. There's like a bladder almost.
Okay.
I
believe...
I don't think you can seal it. I think it leaks.
No, well, I mean, so on these big steam generators, they have bearings and they also have seals because you're blowing the steam through there. They actually use some of that pressurized steam on the other side between 2 seals. So it pressurizes the seals.
Oh, really?
So you can't, so it doesn't blow through. I mean, it's not full pressure, but that pressure actually causes those seals to seal,
Right.
and it keeps the higher pressure from leaking out.
That makes
Maybe that's how they do it.
Yeah, I don't. I think on like the big ships, Navy ships, that they leak
You think?
around the drive shafts.
You think they leak?
So you're just pumping out water all the time.
That don't sound right. I guess since this is an electric one, you can probably just keep the motor out in the water. The motor doesn't care if it's in the water, or release the whole the motor and the shaft and the propeller can all be one unit, all sealed together. And you still need a seal.
Right.
You still need a seal of some kind. Maybe you just pressurize them inside of the motor.
Well, he said his issue was trying to get where you got in and out of the submarine, which he calls the con tower.
Yeah.
He had difficulty getting those to seal. He spent a lot of time and money developing those seals.
Yeah, yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean,
that's what you want. You want
those hole in the submarine, and now you've got to seal it.
So what was this thing made out of?
Steel, like quarter-inch steel.
And he made it himself.
He made it himself.
So have you ever tried to weld steel and make it waterproof?
No.
I have. It's very, very difficult.
He must be a good welder. He must have access to good welders.
He must be an outstanding welder. I just tried to take it. I had a pipe, a steel pipe I needed to shorten. And I was going to use it I was making a natural gas line that went through concrete into where my gas logs were. Right. But the pipe, it was a weird situation. The pipe wasn't the pipe was too long. And so I figured, well, I can just cut out this quarter-inch that I need. I'll cut it off, and then I'll weld it back together. And for the life of me, I could never get that thing to seal.
Really?
I would test it. I put an end cap on it and pressurized it and sprayed soapy water because I don't want gas leaking through it.
Yeah.
I could never get that thing to seal. It was always porous. It was I thought I had the weld. I thought I was doing everything right, but it must be very difficult. But I worked at this nuclear power plant, and they were always welding pipes. I mean, these pipes were 1 inch thick, 4 inch in diameter, high pressure steam. And
they welded them.
Those guys would weld it, and they would weld. And actually, they had to weld it with multiple passes because they would chamfer they would cut the ends at angles, and then it would be a V that went all the way around, and they had to fill that V up with weld material. And every single one of those were X-rayed, and those guys got paid big money because they X-rayed right every time. But
a good welder, man. I think they're worth their weight in gold.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm worth probably about bronze right now.
At Dad's shop, I remember welders are always kind of the top of the list, especially the ones that were good. The ones that could weld stainless well were top-notch welders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about your own submarine, getting in it?
Yeah.
Here's a question, basic question. Would you ride in this guy's submarine?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you?
Yeah, this guy has. I mean, he's got some fairly advanced systems in there, or looks like it. Yeah, I wouldn't have any compulsion for getting into this.
You would trade. You wouldn't have any.
No, he seemed pretty serious about what he was doing, and he had it pressure tested. He had engineers test his design, and so the crush depth for this submarine is 120 feet.
Okay.
He only takes it down to 60 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Which means hopefully he's not going in water any more than 120. So if he has a problem, he hits bottom before he hits the crush depth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So he seems like very safety conscious.
Okay. So you'd go in it.
Oh, yeah. I would go in that one.
So now that you've seen it, do you daydream about building your own submarine?
I was trying to think if I'd ever thought about building a sub like that. I've thought a lot about building boats over the years, but not a sub, I don't think. I don't have the skills to build sub. That'd be a lot of welding.
Yeah. But skills aside, it's the cool factor.
Yeah.
How much did he spend? How much did he spend on this thing?
$26,000.
That's materials. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, for materials only. And this thing looks like a submarine. It's not a bad looking.
It's not a contraption.
No, not at all. I have thought, I've seen some of the, like you said, when you see some of the drug running subs.
Yeah.
I thought I could build one of those.
Okay.
One that goes, not for the purpose of smuggling drugs.
Of course not, Cecil.
Yeah. But
if you are a pharmacist.
That's right. But just to have something like that, those are pretty neat.
Okay, so what did we learn today? We learned today that we both daydream about submarines, just like the Roman Empire.
Just like the Roman Empire.
We feel like we could land our own airplane that we built.
Yes, that we built.
But we could not land our own helicopter.
No, I wouldn't even try that. But I would try to build a submarine.
Oh, really? You would try it?
Well, now that we're talking about it, absolutely.
Okay. $26,000, but you'd have to probably bring in some help. I would bring in some help to.
Well, we've already got a head start because we're starting with a big tank.
Big propane tank?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
No, what do you have? What were you talking about?
I was using a big fuel tank.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are pressure units, though.
Right. Well,
I figured they were because they're underground.
Yeah,
but
I figure all that out.
We'll have to work on that one.
A fuel tank, no wonder you had 2 levels in it. Those are huge.
Oh, yeah. Pete don't play.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound right. I think you have come to the end of this. That don't sound right.
Hey, before we close, we want to thank everyone for listening. If this is your first time and enjoyed the conversation, would you consider hitting the subscribe button on the platform you listen with? Also, if you're a longtime listener, please give us a rating and leave us a review so others can easily find us and join the conversation.
I would definitely encourage you, if y'all would all take this week to write a review on either Apple or Podbean. That would help us gain some visibility.
Yeah, let's try it.
So everybody write a review.
Just write a review.
Week. It doesn't even have to be a positive review.
But I do want to point out that a 1-star means you don't like it as much. It doesn't mean it's number 1. It's 5 stars, the good rating.
We've gotten 1-star review.
And it came out, we got that 3 years ago.
Yeah, we got that 3 years ago. And I like that person very much. Yeah. Whoever it was, I like them very much. All right, That Don't Sound Right is a production of TSR Podcast in conjunction with Campbell City Studios. I am your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter's your other host and your web designer. Camille is our barista. Emily is our graphic designer. Ella does our Instagram. Giorgio tests our merchandise. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, listener number 1 is Scott. So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.